Greetings, everybody. It's Jim. I've been in my new location back in my hometown of Erie, Pennsylvania for about 2 months now, and time's really sped by. But I definitely had quite the journey as I went from my what I was considering my new home in Washington, Blaine, Washington, all the way over to Erie, Pennsylvania. Yeah, I was right on the tippy tip. I mean, 10 minutes away from the border, 10 minutes away from the beach, and I'm like all the way to Erie, Pennsylvania. I packed everything up in my good old Mustang, and I took off. And definitely had quite the journey. I started off at BYU, Idaho, my alma mater, seen a few people there, professors and maybe some students and the like. And of course, I stopped off at the best tacos that I've ever had in my life. It really introduced me. This was also in Rexburg. Introduced me to real Mexican food. East Coasters just don't know what they don't have. I also stopped right after that, the Yellowstone National Park along the way, as well as Deadwood, South Dakota, where basically I stopped into where Wild Bill Hickok was killed. I think they kind of justified the actual location by a few yards there, from what I hear. And I also went to see Mount Rushmore, but it all accumulated on this trip to one place that I had to get the timing right. And I actually got the timing wrong on, but I got lucky anyway, and that is... Oh, the Spam Museum? No, that wasn't it. That was another one. This was impromptu. Okay, it wasn't what I was talking about. I also went to the Spam Museum. I said, there was a dead day. I thought, well, I guess I'm not going to see anything here today. I'm just going to go drive. Nope, lo and behold, bam, Spam Museum. It exists. It's a thing. So, okay, fine. But you know by the title of where this really accumulated to. I was all geared up for this one location. That is Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Today, I'm going to be going over with you the birthplace of Dungeons and Dragons in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, the TSR Hobby Shop Museum. Okay, so the thing is about the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum is it's only open 4 days a week from Thursday through Sunday, and even then they're only open like at 6 o'clock at night on, okay? And now the thing is that's okay if you're just like maybe 12 hours away or something like that, because you could time that a lot more. I was traveling for like 2 weeks, to get here, and, I was stopping at all these other places along the way, and there were, I was driving faster in some places than others, and of course, hotels, I would get some hotels. I have this little hack that I like to do. I'm a night driver. I love driving at night, but I drive through the night and I get there at like 9 or 10 in the morning. I say, hey, I find a place that's not busy or occupied too much, with good security, mind you. And I say, hey, when's the earliest I can check in? And usually they're accommodating. And they say, oh, just go ahead. And so I get to sleep during the day, and then I wake up, and then I have another night, and it's almost like I get 2 nights. So if you're doing a long cross-country trek, I highly suggest that hack. But anyway, there was definitely things that I wasn't expecting. Like I was going through Montana at like these big mountains for like 35 miles an hour, and it's like, who needs white flags? I mean, I'm looking over my shoulder. Some of these places don't have guardrails either, and there's not really a lot of lights, so it's like, it's pretty scary stuff. And of course, when you get into Montana, I swear I seen a sign that said cows in road, and I'm like, is that what that said? I think I said, and I'm going about 45 miles an hour, and of course, luckily I wasn't going any faster because the Montana Bovine Patrol showed up. So yes, there were definitely a lot of things that kind of get in the way of a travel any length of time. You got to be prepared to anything. So anyway, the bottom line is I got there early. I got there on a Tuesday. So I went up to the sign, and they actually said on the sign that they would be open. Okay, so there's a little bit conflicting information from the sign to the website. I believe it's the website that says that they're open on Thursday through Sunday, and I think it was on the door that said they were open on Tuesday, or was it the reverse? So I had 6 hours to kill, so, I decided to go down to Lake Geneva proper, and it was a beautiful August day. So I got to see the lake, and just down the street from this lake is really, walking distance. All of a sudden, boom, it opens up into these 5-block areas of nothing but a bunch of artistic shops, so that was pretty cool. But afterwards, and getting something to eat, I said, well, you might as well, spend some time looking for a game store. It was about 3 o'clock, it'd be open by now, at the very least. And I can find out more about I'm a representative of Columbia Games, so maybe I can get Harn World in there, and I can find out if the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum would be available today or not. I'm sure they would have been privy for the information. So there was two gentlemen working there at the time. It was Alex and Jason, and I come to find out that Jason owns the place, and we just all start talking about games. And of course, I do tell my story that I came all the way across country just to see the Dungeon Hobby Shop Museum, and I used to own a game store myself. Back in the 90s when Magic the Gathering pretty much started. I got in at Legends. So we started talking shop and everything like that, and that was pretty cool. And Alex starts showing me around the place, and they even have a secret door. I'll put it in this video here right now.
Did it later. I think I got it going right now.
It is.
All right. Secret compartment. Let's see, here we go. I made the rule.
So Alex showed me through the secret door and everything, and started showing me some artwork on the wall. And he said at one point there was a big map, fantasy map on the wall. I come to find out that was actually the Harn World map, and that's pretty cool. And it'll be even more cool in a little bit here. But he's showing me all these pictures and stuff, and he says, yeah, they're going to take down those pictures and going to try cycling in some original artwork from some of the original D&D artists. And his father was involved, and can make it happen and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And I kind of thought his father was one of the artists, is what he meant by that. And we just started talking, and we started asking about this little machine. I started asking about this machine, and this thing is a card sorter. And it's like, it's $10,000, and I wish I had it when I had my store. Mind you, at $10,000, I don't know if I'd really own it, but it can do more than sort by color. It could sort by symbol as well. So, and you could sort monsters, spells, all that, because of course words are symbols as well, right? So it was a pretty cool machine that would have, if you do Magic in any kind of capacity, I imagine people would have this machine. There's no doubt. Anyway, we started talking shop again just a little bit, then he brought up his father again. And I was like, oh yeah, you mentioned that your father was involved. How was he involved? And he goes, oh, well, my father's Gary Gygax. And then I'm like, slowly realizing that this entire time I had been talking to Alex Gygax, a son of Gary Gygax, the inventor of Dungeons and Dragons. And I'm just like, okay, cool. So, I'm trying to keep my questions pretty more about him than about Dungeons and Dragons. I'm trying to keep it original, because it's like, hey, I know you get hit with these all the time. So, I'm just trying. So I asked him about what's it like growing up Gygax, and it's like, he was just my father. He'd make me breakfast and toast in the morning and all that stuff, and it's just normal stuff. And I asked him what he got into other than games. He is into Magic, by the way. He's a big Magic fan. But he also gets into race cars, and he likes a good beer. He likes, craft beers and such like that. So, we started talking. It was pretty cool. It was just laid back. When I start talking about the old kind of gaming, and I did mention this when I was with them, both him and Jason, is just like, the old gaming is just, we're a bunch of gaming hippies. It's just like, we're laid back. We don't bother anybody. We just want to do our thing. And you get that vibe when it was there, and you get that vibe from his son as well. So that was actually really absolutely cool, which, of course, makes the whole thing about how the Harn World map was up on the wall there much more significant. Hopefully we'll get it back there. We definitely have our products in there right now, that's for sure. And they're handing out our maps like crazy. Maybe that's why they can't put one up there right now, because they're handing them out. Alex is actually, working with us. He's talking the game up and stuff like that. So very cool for him to just kind of hand it to people and show show people the game. So we talk about another 20, 25 minutes about this, that, or the other thing, going in and out from games, then kind of going to other subjects. Couldn't talk much about race cars, but I do have a history with a good beer. I know I said I was a Latter-day Saint. I went to BYU, Idaho, but I'm a convert. I have a history with a good beer. So we talked about a few things there, and then talked to Jason also because he wanted some insight, which was cool to give advice, because I've had my own game store, and just, game store to game store owner, what I thought of the industry and where it's going, and, hints about what I think, or advice of what I think I would do in his situation and such. So it was really cool. And of course, then they told me, they thought that somebody was going to be supposed to be at the Dungeon Hobby Shop today, even though they weren't open. And so after goodbyes and thank yous and stuff like that, getting my card and all that stuff to get contacted to get Harnworld in there, which, like I said, is definitely doing well. Ended up at the museum, and lo and behold, there are some guys there, and I said, hey, and howdy. And I said, hey, I came all the way across country. Do you mind if I just spend a few minutes? Because what they were going to do, they were going to have an impromptu game, actually. Well, okay. And I said, hey, do you mind if I just kind of look around? Because they got there pretty early to set up and get some food and stuff like that. And so they were like, yeah, cool. Again, gaming hippies, right? It's just cool, laid back. Hey, no problem. So they kind of let me in, and then they let me look around. This is what I found out. And so, really a lot of display cases all around. I'm just looking at one right here. I'm going to go through top to bottom just because, I'm looking at my video timeline right now, and I'm like, I spent 10 minutes to get you to this spot. I'd hate to spend only 2 minutes showing you a few cabinets. So here we go. Some of the original, modules up here on top, along with some of the figures. Let's move this panel a little bit here. Come on, where is it? There we go. And of course, the original Dungeons and Master screen. Very iconic picture right there, a whole collage of chaos going around in the game. And of course, those pastel colors, I guess you could call them, for a lot of their supplements. And then we got the box sets right down here, the original Dungeons and Dragons book right there, and then the sets as they happen more along the lines of the late 80s, early 90s, I believe. And even the mini set, if you scry it right down there, you got the expert set, little mini set. I don't know why they made those. It was just kind of a cool thing to make Dungeons and Dragons anywhere. Like, kind of is, because, a lot of people like those those digest-sized books, like Old School Essentials has the little real small ones that you could just take anywhere and play. That was pretty cool. I kind of fell in love with that idea, actually, because the Fantasy Trip has their little Melee in a box, which has Melee and Wizard. It's all in one little box, but the pieces are smaller. But it's definitely very playable. I'd almost like that better than the big maps sometimes a little bit. So let's continue and go down. And then we got some games that are, we're starting to get into some pictures and some frustration about games that I never got to own or ever open up. Never got the original Boot Hill. That's a terrific picture. I don't think the new Boot Hill, the second edition, looked as good as that did. But that's what it is. And then, of course, again, you got the original Boot Hill, it looks like, which is like a digest size, kind of like chainmail there. Top Secret, I did have that one. Never really played it. Metaphorsis Alpha, never played it. And when it comes to some of these games, especially the ones you're about to see, I really wish that they would bring them back out just to re-release them. Probably make a lot of them even pocket box size. That would actually be cool. And of course, Gamma World, probably one of the, I love that cover. It really, there's something about, again, the old artwork, and, the new Gamma World, I got into when the second edition came out, it was still cool, but it was definitely different than the artwork that was here. It was definitely more cartoon in your face. It still, I wouldn't want to say it was cartoony, but if you look at the old Gamma World, it just had a more serious tone with it. Even though they do look like they could possibly be going after Godzilla at the same time. All right, so we're coming into more of the shelves of frustration here, but actually this doesn't own so much. I have Attack Force. I have all the mini games, as many of you know. I've done so many videos on so many of them. I want to get back to them soon now that I'm settled in. Warlocks and Warriors, I actually had to look up. It's $150 on eBay, and it's actually, I thought it would be a role-playing game, which I thought would be weird for the people who did Dungeons & Dragons, but it's a board game. It's a game that is really simplistic. Even more than Dungeon, if you're familiar with that one. Just real simple. So that's interesting there. Now, Suspicion, that looks like something that would be actually newer. Like, you're looking at the artwork here, but in the scope of it, I don't know if that's TSRs or what. It looks like it is. I see the logo in there, very much a TSR logo in the corner there. So, no, I don't know about that game. And on the right is Battle of the Five Armies. I can't say I know much about that. Leave a comment down below about those ones. I didn't do research on those. But here's ones that definitely would give me nostalgia of frustration. The Fourth Dimension one, I always wanted. Look at that artwork. Tell me that doesn't belong on a shelf right now, just because of that. And Divine Right, I want to play that one too. I've never played those. I wish they would just come back with these in a Pocket Box or something. I imagine that Wizards of the Coast / Hasbro owns these, and I don't know. I mean, they would have to change the game. I wouldn't want them to change the game because I would want the original feel, because you learn so much. I've learned so much by playing the original mini games about game design and how it came to be, and how thought you get more of an idea of the thought processes, which is the same thing I went over in my last video about the Hidden Shrine of Tomoe-chan. You know, about the processes that evolve through time. And I don't like using evolve because that assumes that everything got better. No, it just changed. Nothing was wrong with the original, except for, you know, some things evolve. Okay, fine. But then again, when you get to a point, some things just kind of change. But anyway, then you got War of Wizards. I don't know what that is. Is that kind of like that Wiz War game that Steve Jackson made? It's just, I'd like to see that one. The Knights of Camelot, and of course Lankmar game right there. And then of course here's the dungeon game. This was my first TSR game. I actually was trying to decide whether I wanted Dungeon or Dungeons and Dragons, and I remember ordering it from my parents, ordering it from JCPenney, and I would call up every week, is my Dungeons and Dragons in? And he goes, no, we have something called Dungeon that's in. And I'm like, dang it, I think I ordered the wrong thing. I mean, I got it and I liked it. There's no doubt about it. I mean, it is a simplistic game, but at the same time, back then in the 80s, that kind of simplistic I was in the Parker Brothers game, so this was right on par. This was more involved than a lot of Parker Brothers games. And then we have on the bottom here, we have The Awful Green Things of Outer Space, which I finally own. I should be getting to play that for that. You know, I definitely should get into that. Then Snit's Revenge, which I imagine is something off of The Awful Green Things. I don't know. That's another game that I don't think I don't have. I don't know where I can get it